constant one. Endless is your love, like a river can't be stopped. You're faithful, constant one. Who is like you, God? Your mercy's like the sun, always rising, constant one. Endless is your love, like a river can't be stopped. You're faithful, constant one. Who is like you, God? Your mercy's like the sun, always rising. And there is no place that I could run that you won't chase me down. You won't chase me down. There is no place that I could hide that I would not be found. I would not be found. There is no place that I could run that you won't chase me down. You won't chase me down. There is no place that I could hide that I would not be found. I would not be found. No, there is no place that I could run that you won't chase me down. That you won't chase me down. And there is no place that I could hide that I would not be found. I would not be found. Constant one, endless is your love, like a river can't be stopped. You're faithful, constant one. Who is like you, God? Your mercy's like the sun, always rising, constant one. Endless is your love, like a river can't be stopped. You're faithful, constant one. Who is like you, God? Your mercy's like the sun, always rising over us.
All right, top of the evening to everybody. Beza Youth, welcome to our weekly broadcast. As usual, it is great to be with you today. It's great to be where you are. I hope you all had a good week, been enjoying yourselves, and had a profitable time. I am excited today. We have a special broadcast to you, for you rather. I just wanted to introduce this special somebody, but before I do, just a quick recap of what we've been talking about the past 6-7 weeks. We've been talking about profit making, based on the scripture on Titus 3, on verse 8. We see Paul actually urging, insisting, putting his foot down, ragat argo sinagar, to Titus, to make sure that those who have trusted in God, he's saying they have to devote themselves in doing good, because these things are excellent and profitable, he says, right? So making profit is in the sense of thinking of solving others' problems, reaching out, becoming answers to relevant questions in the time, in the season. All right, again, he says on verse 14 that make sure people are devoted. Now, devotion is not a gig, a one-time thing that we do when we feel good and when things are right and we are in the mood. No, devotion is actually something you're given to every day. And he says you need to be devoted to help others in time of need, because that is profitable and excellent. So we've been talking about those ideas for the past 6-7 weeks. And if you are tuning in today for the first time, I really encourage you to go back and listen to our broadcast. And on top of that then, last week we launched something very interesting, an innovation campaign based on the call posed by our Prime Minister. We are now, as young people, striving to solve pertinent, relevant issues that we are facing in this time of this global panic and whatever, crisis as they call it, which we hear everywhere. So our mandate is not to panic. Our mandate is actually to come up with solutions, especially as spirit-filled people. All right? Because the Spirit of God is there, not always to give us goosebumps, but it's there inside of us to lead us into all truth. All truth is accessible in the Spirit. Truth that are hidden, answers that are hidden, solutions that are hidden. So Innovation in Crisis is launched last week. So do watch also our broadcast last week if you want to know more about it. And at the end of this broadcast also, we'll leave you with how to join our campaign that we have launched on Telegram, and we'll tell you more about our Telegram bot. But guys, as saints, we need to be active now. This is an opportunity. This time is an opportunity for us. This is the time, like Jesus told us, to be salt and yeast. Being salt and yeast does not happen by being passive. Salt cannot be salt in the cabinet, in the pantry, or on the table. Salt finds its relevance when it's actually immersed into an issue, into whatever is being cooked. It needs to be, last week we were saying, it needs to be part of the solution, the mixture of things, to actually become a solution. Likewise, yeast needs to be part or into. It needs to find itself in the issue that is being baked currently for it to actually be what it's meant to be. All right? So let's be salt and light. And today we will take a slightly, a different vantage point. Now we've been learning from Scripture, but today I wanted us to look into another vantage point from an intellectual point of view. What is innovation? Why should we innovate now? What kind of mindset should we be in to actually innovate? So today I have with me a special guest. Now everybody is special, of course, and I always say it, everybody. We're brothers and sisters, we all are special. But this week's guest is especially special for me. But I will not tell you why. I'll let you guess. And you let me know. You just leave a comment and take a guess of why this week's guest is actually really special. But we'll go right into our interview and dialogue with this special person. Keep tuned in. Alrighty, everybody, let's get going. Dr. Barkot, welcome. እንኳን ደህና መጡ.
Thank you, Pastor Misu.
Fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's an honor. Please tell us, what do you do? Why do we call you doctor?
Because I'm a doctor.
Of what sort?
I'm a medical doctor, and I specialized in psychiatry.
Yeah.
So I work in Addis Ababa University Department of Psychiatry. I'm the deputy chair. So I basically do a lot of teaching, clinical work. I see patients, and I also spend a lot of time researching on mental health issues, particularly related with mood, anxiety, and women mental health.
Yeah.
So that's what I do, and I'm also involved in other universities regarding research fellowships. So that's basically what I do.
Guys, did you guys hear that? I think she must be the smartest person ever to grace our youth ministry. Come on, somebody.
Next to you.
Thank you. Flattered. Wonderful. So we're gonna dive right into our topic of discussion today. I don't know if you've been following, but I'm sure you have an idea of what we've been talking about for the past 6-7 weeks, about innovating. I have to say, really surprised and impressed by what you were talking about recently. I heard you addressing this issue of innovation at the Addis Gawat, is it?
Addis Wag.
Addis Wag. Addis Wag, the PM's office discussion platform on innovation. And I really liked your take on the whole subject. So I wanted us to explore a little bit into it. But before we even talk about innovation, I just want to start from primarily your area or your niche. I know you are still working and you're seeing people. And so I wanted you maybe to give us just a little hint into what the general or the overarching mental status of most of the people that you are seeing right now is under our current circumstances. Just a brief survey.
A brief, yeah, because it's a broad
I'm sure.
issue, and just so that we can focus on the innovation part, just to
Yeah.
give you a highlight, I think most of the issues going on around are mostly driven by a lot of fear and anxiety. And basically it's because most of the things in the season that we are in general, in crisis, is not something that we go into knowing what to expect. It's not something that we are prepared for. So there's a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainties. So whenever there's a lot of uncertainties, it triggers a lot of anxiety and fear. So basically most of the things going on are around anxiety. But with the anxiety comes a lot of other emotions. Because it's something that seems so huge and uncontrollable.
Sure.
People feel like they are not in charge or not in control of whatever happens in their lives or even around them. They feel a bit of hopelessness comes with it. So people, because of the quarantine, also go through a lot of emotions regarding, like a sense of isolation.
Yeah.
People struggle with a lot of boredom. The degree and the severity is different, but some people have it to a normal extent. The normal degree of anxiety is always good, and it should always be there because it helps us take action. It helps us plan. It helps us become productive. That's why we do most of the things that we are doing to prevent the virus or to prevent the effects of the virus. So that's one side of it, but when it gets out of control, people can stay in the state of panic. People, when they are in a state of panic, they are not focused on what they can do and what they should do. So the problem with the state of anxiety is you're always thinking on the basis of, like the survival mode. So meaning it's like, what do I do? How do I stay safe? So it's a lot of I questions.
I'm sure.
So when that happens, you miss the bigger picture of the things you can do, the things that you can control, and you tend to focus on you and your immediate circle around you. So that's why a lot of people go out buying unnecessary things or taking measures that are somewhat inappropriate. So one problem of it is that you take inappropriate measures, but the other side of this survival mentality is, like I said, it makes you less productive because you're only focusing on yourself. So you don't think of solutions, you don't think of measures, you don't think of actions. So there is a normal degree that should be there, but people are struggling with a lot of excess anxiety, panic. And sometimes people go through depression and other forms of mental distresses. But all in all, to say these are not mental illnesses on their own in this season, but they are things that we can cope with, we can deal with. Of course, if it's very severe, intervention might be needed.
So it's interesting You said something in between that people are anxious, but you did say also that it's okay to be anxious, so that we can actually look for ways to be proactive. Now that's an interesting take on the matter. Now, so should that be the mindset that we should adapt or be in now when we talk about innovating and thinking of solutions? Is that the general mindset we should be in? What would you say?
So the mindset that we shouldn't be in is this, that, like I said, feeling that we are constantly under threat.
Yes.
And this survival mode of thinking is what's not helpful. What's helpful is, like on most people, what they are thinking is that, okay, we're in this crisis, this uncontrollable but unavoidable evil that somehow we have to go through and as soon as possible make it part of our past. It's a bad mindset.
Okay.
What we should focus on is that, okay, now that we're in this state, how do we make sure that we use this time and this concern and anxiety to address things that we should have even addressed long before even the COVID issue came. Okay, so we can take it as an opportunity. Okay,
absolutely.
So to do that, like I said, so this is a very well studied theory, and it's a model that we use. So there's this thing that we call the flow psychology. So people usually, like in athletics, in certain things, when the degree of challenge increases, the degree of anxiety and the degree of arousal one feels is directly related to one's performance.
Wow. Guys, can you say that again? Please.
I'll try.
Please reiterate that immediately.
So when the degree of challenge rises and
Yes,
the
sir.
degree of anxiety and concern rises at the same time, it's directly linked to the degree of the motivation and the performance of that. So we're not talking about external motivation. We're not talking about rules that force us to innovate or rules that force us to take action. We're talking about internal motivation.
Yes.
And then to achieve internal motivation, the degree of challenge, again, another point, the degree of challenge must meet our level of skill.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So if I don't feel challenged, then I'm not concerned about it. I'm not anxious about it. Okay? So if I'm not anxious about it, why should I take any measure about it? Okay? So the degree of challenge will determine the degree of anxiety and concern I will have about it. Okay?
Got it.
But that must be matched with the level of skill or expertise that I have.
My ability.
My ability to cope with it or to deal with
Got
it.
it.
Let me give you an example. For example, if I have a certain challenge and it's, like if it's challenging enough to capture my attention, if it motivates me to a certain extent, but I feel like it's
Beneath
something beneath me, I am bored or I'm relaxed, so I'm not going to do anything about it.
Sure.
But if it matches the degree of skill or whatever I have in my hand, if they are matched, then that motivates me to take action. So that's the whole model of the flow psychology. So what the theory is, what it says is that challenge is a motivator, but it must be matched with skill. Okay, so one without the other, either if they're high or very low, and if they're not matched, they wouldn't produce anything. So all the time, athletes, this is the way they operate. Okay, it must be challenging enough for them, and they must feel like they have what it takes to overcome that challenge. So it's like that optimum range of level of anxiety, that optimum level of fear and concern is actually very healthy.
I like that.
Does it make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. I hope you guys are catching it. So in other words, what you're telling us is that the challenge, we should not be overwhelmed by the amount of challenge that we're facing, nor should we see ourselves beneath the challenge, so that we will not actually feel overwhelmed and we just sit and do nothing.
Exactly. So the best way to do that would be, there are overwhelming challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying we deny the reality,
Yeah.
but we have to be selective in the challenge we focus on. Okay? There are challenges that are beneath us.
Yeah.
There are challenges that are over us.
Okay.
Okay? So, but depending on our skill and depending on what we have on our hands, we can pick our battle.
Yes, sir.
We can choose our challenge.
Yeah.
So how we do that is, for example, there's this COVID issue,
Yes.
right? Everyone is told, for example, everyone is told to stay at home. I mean, like schools are closed and whatnot. So maybe there's nothing we can do about that. There are people who are dealing with that issue. Okay, there are people who have the caliber to tackle that challenge. But for us who are told not to go to school, we can choose our own concern in our daily life. There are things around us with our level of ability and skill, we have concerns. So one reason why people are going through a lot of depression and anxiety is because they focus on a challenge that's too big or that's too beneath them, and they get into boredom or they get into a panic or overwhelmed state. But things like, okay, I'm staying home. What do I do to make sure that I study better?
Yeah.
You find your own ways of studying better, focusing while you're at home.
Yes.
Maybe keeping safe.
Yeah.
For example, we're doing this online.
Yeah.
Okay, we had a challenge. You had, as a pastor, you had a challenge at your level.
Yeah.
So you didn't invent a vaccine.
Yeah.
But you devised a way to reach the youth.
Where they are.
Where they are. With your ability,
Yes.
you picked a challenge.
Yeah.
So one way of staying stable,
Yeah.
one way of overcoming it, and at the same time being productive,
Yeah.
is by picking a challenge that matches your ability and your skill. And that is what we call the flow psychology. So people are the happiest and they are at a state of flow, and things become internally rewarding when what they do seems like it's solving meaningful problems for them personally. It doesn't necessarily have to be global.
I like it.
But what you start now might have a global impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, this is brilliant. Now, guys, this is also confirming what we've been talking about, that how actually challenge can by itself and on itself can be a motivator.
It is.
It is. It's even scientifically proven. Now, bringing this to innovation then, how do you correlate this state of mind and innovating? Now, what should it look like? Now, we're challenging people alongside with our Prime Minister to think and innovate in crisis. So we're saying now crisis, depending on how we take it and how eye to eye we're looking at the challenge, we can think and innovate, right?
Yeah.
So how would you define innovation? That's what I heard you say even last time on TV. So how would you define it, and how is it relevant now
Yeah.
based on what you've said?
So innovation, how I see it, is so you can, innovation and invention are quite different.
Yes.
You can accidentally invent something,
Yeah.
okay? But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's useful, okay? Like you can come up with a device, a fancy device, but it may not necessarily be
It's
applicable.
irrelevant for now.
Exactly. So when it comes to innovation, it's a deliberate
Attempt.
use and application or
Yeah.
an attempt
Yeah.
of using your skill or your information or using your challenge to produce a new way of solving problems,
Yeah.
a new way of doing things.
Yes.
So the things I would highlight on innovation is one, it has to be something new,
Yeah.
it has to be something in use, applicable, and it has to bring a meaningful change.
Yeah.
Meaning it has to tackle a meaningful problem for you. So what I'm saying is it has to be meaningful for you. So how I see innovation in this period is because of whatever is going on. There's so many dimensions that are affected. From all of the issues around us, you can pick a challenge, a problem that's personally meaningful for you. Let that be your motivator, and match it with a skill that you have.
Yes.
Okay? And then that will be your motivation for innovation.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that all of us have to create a vaccine.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that innovation doesn't mean creating something that's completely unheard of.
Yes.
It just means that taking the challenge based on what you have, confronting that, and making small, meaningful, and deliberate changes to change them. So that's how I see it. And with the model that the model that I spoke, if you pick innovation as being something related with something that would change the global economy right now, or something to technology, only to technology, or only to medicine, then automatically most of us will be disqualified from this call of innovation. But each of us have a problem, personally going through things. Maybe some of us have to take a taxi every day when we move around. So you think, if that's your challenge, you think of, what can I do differently to keep myself safe? Okay, that's innovative thinking for yourself. If you have a grandparent at home, how do I live with my grandparent in another room while at the same time I keep him safe? Okay, but there are so many things that we should have dealt with. For example, I can tell you, in my area, in my field, there are things that we could have changed a long time ago. Now we're introducing telemedicine. Like so many things are happening because we are forced. So this can be an opportunity to change the things that we carried all along into the season. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to go out of the season with those problems.
I really like it. And I think one key thing that you said, what I liked, is the you or the me factor in the challenge, which means when we are telling people, even now, the challenge that we have posed to people is to assess problems first.
Exactly.
So when we say assess, it means that in terms of what you have said, it doesn't mean that we take a score sheet and we start roaming around.
No.
Because people who are even asking us, they feel overwhelmed. You know what I mean? Because the problems are so many, and some of them don't tend to look inwards,
and they
look outside,
and they feel overwhelmed because they're picking something that doesn't match their skill.
Exactly.
So the overwhelming feeling comes when it's beyond your skill, beyond your expertise. So it has to be something to put it this way, motivation doesn't come by trying to change something that you are worried about. Or the what if thoughts. What if this happens? What if that happens? So you have to change your worries into challenges. So think of your worries and think of what their implication is today. How are you being challenged today? So it becomes more meaningful when you convert your fear and try to look at them in terms of challenge. So everyone is being challenged in one way or another. So think of a way to address it with what you can. So that's the whole point of innovation.
Perfect. I mean, too much wisdom on the air. I don't know if you guys can see. Does the camera catch that? I can see everywhere. Finally, we're almost out of time. It might be an obvious question, but why innovate? Why innovate now?
Why innovate? I think it's an opportunity.
Excellent.
Because these things don't come often. I mean, this might be once in a lifetime. So it is an opportunity to change things we have carried with us, like I said repeatedly. And the other reason why I see is it helps us take control back from the situation. Okay, if we don't take action, we would still feel helpless. But taking a small step, one, would enable us to change the situation. But even if we don't, we at least at the end feel empowered because we are taking steps.
Yeah.
So two people in the same circumstance, one person doing something about it, at least trying, and the other not doing anything about it, they will not come out of the situation in the same way. So one, the situation might change. Two, it gives control back, and the other thing is it benefits the society. So innovation and taking action always takes our mind off of this survival mentality. What do I do? How do I cope? It takes our eyes off of that, and then it helps us address it as part of a community. Okay? So it enables us to be able to reach others.
Yes.
Okay? Instead of just surviving, now we are instruments, now we are tools to also benefit others. So innovation, I think, has many layers.
Yeah.
And more than anything, from what I come from, taking action and innovation and delivering things for your own mentality, for your own sake of stability, it has a lot of benefit.
Fantastic. Dr. Barkot,
Yes.
we could do this the whole day.
Yes.
Thank you for coming and sharing your quite inspiring and thought-provoking insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pastor Misu, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's a pleasure, likewise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed my time with the brilliant mind, Dr. Barkot. She gave us really an interesting introspect into the mindset that we need to have and how we can innovate and how we can inspire and motivate ourselves by the very challenges we're facing. So let's go ahead and let's do this, everybody. Right after this, we will, last week, Beza, our chief engineer in charge of our campaign that has built this Telegram bot, has left us with a small instruction on how we can join our Innovation in Crisis bot. So just follow that link and start sending issues that you see around us based on even what we have learned today. All right? Issues that are affecting us directly. So we are anticipating your messages, and already some are coming in, and I'm really excited about it. So let's make the most of this opportunity. We love you guys. Reach out to us. We are always available. Our numbers, mine and AB's, are on the screen. If you have any ministry needs, don't hesitate to reach us. Love you very much, guys. Have a nice week.
There's going to be 2 steps. The first is going to be collecting the problem, and then the second one is going to be collecting the solution. So, all right, so I'm just going to walk you through real quick the boat. So first thing you do is you're going to go to your Telegram, because it's a Telegram boat, and you're going to search at Survival Innovations, and then you're going to click on the boat right now, just like you can see on the screen. So click Start, then you'll see 3 buttons underneath on the menu. The first one will say Send Response, so you can just click on that, and you'll see 3 instructions. They'll just help guide you, and then as you can see here, it says you can send a voice message, a text, or an audio. So whichever one you prefer, you can just send us your message, and that's it, you're done. The other options here are just, if you want to get more information, you can click on more info. You'll get videos, links, and just a lot of information that we've provided. And lastly, you can contact us if you have any technical difficulties, or if you just have questions for us, you can write a short message and we'll respond right away. So that's it.